Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Spill the Beans, a candid conversational piece on all things life and career. My name is Ty Blair, Executive Director of the awesome nonprofit organization When You Give a Bean Water, a collective hub of resources for families of color to utilize on their own terms. In today's episode, we're talking all things finance. So the Oxford definition is the management of large amounts of money, especially by governments or large companies. So entities from the Federal Reserve to the commercial banks, investment banks, retail banks, and credit unions. But where you and I have the most impact is within personal finance, which is all financial decisions and activities of an individual or a household, including budgeting, insurance, mortgage planning, savings, and retirement planning. I'm so hyped about this episode because my guest highlights both sides of that coin. He comes with many years of both financial and managerial experience, and I'm super excited to have him here to give his insight and expertise from a personal and corporate level. But beyond that, he's a longtime friend of my wonderful husband, Eric, and anytime we link up, we always have thought-provoking conversations, which is a testament to the stand-up guy that he is. So without further ado, introducing Richard Graham. Welcome to the table.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining. I'm super duper excited about this.
Great intro.
Thank you. You know, I got to set you up real nice. All right, so the first segment is intro and stats. So who is Richard Graham?
Oh man, so Richard Graham is a Philadelphia native, Strawberry Mansion, graduated from Strawberry Mansion in 2002 with the college, Lockheed University, Central Pennsylvania. After graduating college, I jumped right into the banking industry, worked for a credit union by the name of Police and Fire Federal Credit Union. I worked there for about 6.5 years. I went through their management training program. I actually worked pretty much worked my way from the bottom up, right? So they started me out as a teller back in 2008 when the market was like, it would crash, it would suck. Right. It was hard to find jobs. So I was kind of like, I graduated college and, I'm a freaking bank teller. This is not for me. And, my goal was to get out immediately and find a job. But they invested in me. They put me in a management training program within like the first, I would say, year that I was there. I went through the management program, left their company as an assistant manager, went to do some more customer service, cash handling, cash management in the casino. I worked for Harris Casino for 3 years as a shift manager. I managed their cash cage. Then I left. Went back to banking, went back to the credit union world. I worked for American Heritage as a branch manager for about 6.5 years there. And now I am about 7 months into TD Bank. Now I'm working for TD Bank as a branch manager. So I've been in the business for a while now. Throughout that long journey of work, I've been all types of things. But one of the things I'm more proud of when it comes to career is I'm also a financial counselor. Not an advisor, but a counselor. And being a counselor, I'm able to help people with their budgets, with their credit. Mainly, the most important is their budget, obviously, but help them with make financial decisions, help them budget their money, help them save, help them identify that they can save, because a lot of our people believe that they can't save. Help them get out of that paycheck to paycheck cycle. A lot of times you have our people are in these paycheck to paycheck cycles, robbing Peter to pay Paul, and they feel like they can't get out of it. So that's been one of the highlights of my career, and I do a lot of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's definitely needed. Like, especially with the pandemic and how everyone kind of was either laid off, lost their job, or just trying to figure out how to make their next, move. Something like that is very, very important, because to be transparent, like with all of you, like I didn't take my personal financial planning seriously until I was laid off back during the pandemic. And like,
Mm.
thank God we were good, but just trying to figure out how to stretch that money until an unforeseen time, like it really made me reevaluate some things. And
Yeah,
so,
and one of the things I always tell people, and you'll probably hear this statement at least 3 times in this podcast, but when it comes to financial literacy, it's not cookie cutter. One of the things that I hate, and I know hate's a strong word, so I like to say this, I hate it when you hear these people out here, speaking financial literacy, and they make it seem like it's cookie cutter or it's only one way to success.
right,
It's not. It's not one way to success. What worked for you may not work for me. And then I always tell my clients, I tell them, you have to stair step it. You have to crawl before you can walk, walk before you can run, run before you can jump. You have a lot of people that they want to throw this word generational wealth out, and they want to jump. Like you haven't even learned how to crawl yet, and you're trying to jump. Slow down. So I think that's where a lot of us, fall into that trap, is because we're trying to jump so fast, and you haven't mastered running and walking yet.
definitely, definitely. All right, so we're going to tap into this job description. Pretty much a branch manager is a financial professional in charge of a specific banking location. Banks often have multiple locations or sites called branches. A branch manager oversees the daily operations within one location. Within the branch, they supervise a banking team and manage the daily operations. Do you pretty much agree with that? That's pretty much sums up what the job description.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much sums up. I mean, and as you see some of the bullet points down there, we're responsible for hiring. We're responsible for developing and leading our staff. One of my key quotes I always say is, you have to lead your team and manage the business.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of times people don't realize we actually have to manage that business. So I'm in charge of the portfolio for the store, loans, deposits, expenses, fees, etc. Like that falls on my shoulders. Um, it's just two parts. So as a branch manager, store manager, you have to obviously coach and motivate your staff, develop them, make sure that they can deliver great customer service.
Mhm.
But then on the other side, you have to grow your business overall.
Right.
So we have to make sure we move in the needle, and so I am responsible for outsourcing business accounts, loans, money in, money out. So it's a lot on our plates as a branch manager. So a lot of times people think, oh, what you do? You just manage. No, you actually do a lot.
Yeah, when I was looking like through these bullet points, so many of them, like I'm gonna go through them with everybody, but you guys definitely do a lot for sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, you oversee the operation of your local financial institution. Some of your key responsibilities, they include, like you said, hiring and training new bank staff, including lending officers and bank tellers, supervising a branch's staff and delegating responsibilities, overseeing credit and loan approval, marketing the local branch to potential customers, preparing the bank for daily operations by checking the amount of cash available, counting the amount of money left at the end of the day, ensuring accuracy for all transactions by checking the cash and teller stations, fostering customer relations by answering questions and solving issues, monitoring a branch's safety by locking the vault each night, setting and tracking a branch's sales goals, and collaborating with higher management to discuss the branch's performance. So that was a lot.
And remember, that's like a summation. So obviously, I'll be real. It depends on the bank you work for, the location of that bank, the size of that bank or credit union.
Mhm.
And sometimes larger banks in different areas, larger staffs is more added to that list, and some you take some of it off. One of the things I didn't see on this list that I can go out on a limb and say it doesn't matter what branch, what size, what bank, what credit union, uh, is numbers, analyzing numbers. We have to forecast our numbers. We have to, we do a lot of analytical work and dissecting those numbers. So when you see something that says, coach your staff to meet their goals, that's what we're doing with those goals. Um, so we literally, going through numbers and charts and graphs on a daily basis. So
Mhm. Now, is that something that you could like learn through a course, or Is that something that you would consider more innate? Like that has to be something that you're passionate about or skilled in as far as numbers goes?
Oh no, I mean, of course you can learn it through a course. Of course you can learn it through college. I mean, obviously, I went to college for this type of stuff, and um, I went to school for math and business. So learning how to read charts and statistics and analyzing your numbers, forecasting. I mean, that's the knowledge that you get from school, and then you also get that knowledge, work knowledge. You learn it as you do it through the job. So we train you. So
Okay.
let's say a person comes to me and says my assistant manager and they want to be a store manager one day. We can train you on how to read these reports and how to forecast the numbers and um, how to understand pace and seeing if a person is pacing towards their goal. And we can do those things for you.
Okay, cool. All right, so how to become a branch manager. So number one, it says you have to earn a bachelor's degree. So most banks
Yes.
require bank managers to have a bachelor's degree and
Yes.
consider studying one of the following areas: finance or financial management, marketing, business or business administration, accounting, and business management. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree with that. But one of the things I always say, it doesn't take a rocket science job. I mean, I've had people who came across who've had like a communications degree or a social studies degree and end up becoming a branch manager. I mean, you can do it if you put the work in. If you can understand numbers, if you can understand, if you can lead people, if you can manage a business, have a business acumen, you can do the job, I think.
Right. Yeah, I think I read somewhere it said like you can pretty much get your bachelor's degree in anything, but some financial professionals they decide to go further and to earn their MBA, the Master of Business Administration, and that
Yes,
kind of help you, develop that additional knowledge and skills, and then have you also stand out to future employers.
yes,
All right. So yeah, so then second, want to choose a bank to begin your career. So banking professionals can work with small local branches or large national financial institutions. So consider your career interests and geographical preferences when choosing where you want to begin your career. You may move to different branches throughout your career, but choosing a type of bank can help you meet all of the requirements. Number three, complete exams if required. So some large financial institutions require bank managers to complete their Series 6 or 7 exams. After
hmm
passing these exams, professionals can earn their Series 6 or 7 licenses, which permits them to sell certain financial securities. Are you able to tap into that at all? Like, did you have to get your
yeah.
Series 6 or 7?
So I didn't have to get my series license. I just so happen to work for companies that do not require their managers to have that. There's not many, to be honest, there's not many companies that I know of that actually make their management team do that, but
Okay.
some do. I believe like TD back in the day used to do that, and they used to have their manager as a financial advisor as well. But some of the things that I've had to do in my career is, of course, be a notary. Um, I had to also be a medallion, which is a test I have to take to. It's basically a notary, but it's to stamp securities, things like bonds and um, stocks, things like that. If you change your name on them, etc. It's a test and a course you have to go through. I actually had to go through. I suppose I was a financial counselor, so I had to go through a course for that as well, which was that was the more lengthier course,
Mhm.
where it's a two-part course where you have it's a proxy exam, and you have to pass with an 80 or higher to become a certified financial counselor. So I've been a certified financial counselor for let's see 4 years now. So
Nice, nice. All right, so number four, you want to gain some professional experience. So most branch managers positions require at least 5 years of professional financial experience. Many branch managers begin their careers as tellers before moving into other roles, such as lending officer or underwriter. And that was in your case, right? Didn't you say you started out as a teller and kind of moved your way up?
yeah, so what I did was I started out as a teller, and they moved me into their management training program within, like I said, within, it was less than a year, or if just about a year.
Mhm.
And within the management training program, they take you through all aspects of the actual business. All branches, all banks, all credit unions do not offer management training, but some do. It just so happens that I went to some of the ones that did. But anyway, you go through the management training program, and they usually look the same. They take you through all aspects of the job, from obviously tellering to sales rep, learning how to open accounts, close accounts. Uh, you know, it's just the day to day operations of the bank. But then you go into coaching, go through all types of training. We took Dale Carnegie. Um, there's all types of management things to you just go down that path. Um, then I did some lending training, learning how to read credit reports, understanding credit. Then you go to mortgage and underwriting, learning about mortgages and home equities, vehicle loans, and just go down that gamut of things.
Right.
Once you actually get the job of being a branch manager, you have all that on your plate.
Mhm.
So you're dabbling a little bit here, a little bit here, but then you also have partners. And those partners may be subject matter experts. So, like, for instance, even though I'm a lender, I'm not doing the underwriting. I can, but I'm not. So if you actually do underwriting, it's like, well, I haven't done it in a long, long time because I have a partner that actually does the underwriting for me.
Okay.
Um, so it's like that's kind of how they structure it. They make you partner. So the branch manager is like the middleman. They know everything. It's like, what's the term? Jack of all trades. Jack of all trades, yes.
Cool. All right. So then number 5, you're going to apply for a management position. So after working in the banking industry for several years and developing your skills, you may be able to apply for a managing role. Some branch managers advance their careers within the same branch. For example, they may work for a local bank as a teller before moving into a manager role. Other professionals move into new branches to earn a manager role. Whichever path you take, consider updating your resume to reflect your leadership skills. Most managing positions also want examples of banking skills and proof of effective lending decisions. All right, so some important skills to have as a branch manager. And Richard, you can definitely tap in, feel free. So consider developing important career skills to help you move into a managing role. Branch managers need to have a technical banking skills, which they can gain through professional experience. To move into the managing position, candidates must also possess strong leadership skills. Consider developing these skills throughout your career or through additional courses. Your branch, like you said, may offer workshops or training to help you. So to
Yeah.
be successful, branch managers should develop the following skills. Number 1, communication. Branch managers communicate frequently with customers, staff, and higher management. They need strong verbal and written communication skills to explain concepts, train new hires, and discuss company goals. Number 2, customer service. An important part of a branch's success is building community relationships with regular customers. Branch managers need strong customer service skills to help them resolve issues and foster client relationships. Many branches also have sales goals around how many new accounts or loans they provide. Strong customer service skills could help bank managers to meet these sales goals. Number 3, leadership. Branch managers oversee a team of financial professionals. They need strong leadership skills to motivate their team and communicate expectations. They can use leadership skills to inspire teamwork and delegate new tasks. Number 4, computer fluency. Most banks use software and computers to create documents and track funds. Branch managers need to operate the software and also train new hires on how to use it. Number 5, networking.
Okay.
Banks expect branch managers to network regularly and build professional connections. Branch managers may attend conferences, local events, or join commerce groups to meet potential clients and partners. Number 6, analytical skills. Branch managers oversee loan applications and solve problems. They can they can use analytical skills to evaluate risk and make financial decisions. Number 7, mathematics. Branch managers need strong math skills to perform their daily duties, such as checking teller drawers, managing the bank's vault, and ensuring the ATMs operate correctly. They need strong math skills to ensure an accurate count when recording daily funds. And number 8, attention to detail. Branch managers need to ensure they accurately record all information. A strong eye for detail can help them track funds correctly and create client documents such as loans and new account paperwork. Does that pretty much sum up some of the skills? Anything you want to add?
It does. I mean, one of the things I would add, so this is all the technical stuff and it's great, right?
Right.
I think that that does a great job of explaining what we do, but then in a sense it leaves out some of the gritty. So I guess for your listeners, one of the things I would say, if you want to be a branch manager, one of the main things you must have is a backbone.
Mm.
You cannot do this job if you don't have a backbone. And what I mean by backbone, you have to be able to say no. You have to be able to say no. If you're not able to say no, then you're not going to make it in this business. Unfortunately, in this business, you're dealing with people money, and there's a lot of times where people want you to do things that is unethical, that's fraudulent, and all you're trying to do is help people. You think, but you can lose your job. So you have to have a backbone. You have to be able to say no. Um, you definitely have to be a people's person, because that's what you do. You're dealing with people all day. I love that it said you have to, in one of the bullet points, it said you have to be a problem solver. Yes, you have to be a problem solver. If you do not like solving problems, this is not the job for you.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, I agree with everything it said in there.
Yep, good, great. So average salary for a branch manager. So the average salary for a branch manager is $63,779 per year. It's just a rough estimate here, with the
Okay.
low of 33,166 and a high of 122,648. The benefits may often include health, vision, dental, and life insurance. And some positions also offer tuition reimbursement or stock options.
Yeah.
Salary can vary depending on your banking institution, location, experience, and performance.
Yes.
And finally, the job outlook. So according to the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, jobs for all businesses and financial occupations should grow 7% between 2018 and 2028. Jobs for financial managers are projected to grow by 16% between 2018 and 2028, which is much faster than average. So that's a pretty good job outlook, I would say.
Yes. Definitely a really good job outlook. I mean, I would tell people the business is in the bank. If you're looking for a long-term job, the banking is actually changing. Um, the entry level positions, like the teller positions, they won't last in the next 10 years, right?
Right.
Any type of cashier job, because everything is automated. You have self checkout on everything, and they're going to have self checkout banks basically.
Right.
Um, we already seeing banks and credit unions right now are tellerless. Do not have like tellers when you walk in the door. So in 10 years, cashiers, tellers will not last. But the actual manager position is key. It'll always be there. Even if it's not managing, someone will say, well, if you get rid of your tellers, then who are you managing? Well, you just read the litany of things that I'm responsible for. We're still managing other things.
Exactly.
It's still advertisement for the bank. You still have to get out to the community. You still have to manage your machines, your ATMs, your TCRs, your et cetera. So there's always something to do. And the money, back to the salary, the money is in retail. That is where the money is.
Mm-hmm.
So even in banking, when you see a lot of branch managers that have been branch managers for years, and you're like, why haven't you moved up? Why haven't you been promoted? And they're like, they like the money.
Right.
um, you get the money that's in. Don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure my boss make more money than me, But the thing is, once he takes that role, he loses a lot of his perks. So he loses a lot of his responsibilities. He may get paid more in a sense on a salary range. Um, but trust me, it's way more money. And then also when it comes to that type of boss, like your market boss or your VPs, etc., is those jobs are limited. You just saw the outlook for branch managers is a lot of us.
Right.
So what happens is, don't get me wrong, if that job became available, I would take it myself. But you also have that job becoming available, and everyone is fighting for that job. One of the things I say is there's enough room for all of us to eat in this business. So everyone's fighting for that particular job because of the benefits, more stress, more responsibility, a little bit more of a pay. Uh, but when you're at this branch manager position, you can kind of write your own ticket sometimes.
Mm.
You can make a really good base salary, you know, really good base salary, and then also earn your wages off of incentives depending on what location you're on, or location you're at. And being the branch manager, being the boss, you kind of make your own schedule. So you get those little perks, those little perks that are priceless.
Mhm.
It's priceless. It's priceless for me to be able to walk into my store, and if I want to take an hour and a half, 2 hour break, I can, and I'm not answering no one. If I want to leave early today, I can leave early. If I want to come in late, I can come in late. If I want to work from home, I can work from home. These are things that are priceless.
Yeah.
Um, and so I always tell people who are inspiring to be in the position, I say, it's not just about the money, it's also about the perks that you have to quantify those perks. So the money is in retail. When I say it's in retail, you get a lot of branch managers who will be a branch manager for 2 years and feel like, no money here because they lowballed me. Like you said, I was an assistant manager. I moved up the ranks. I was a teller manager, or whatever. And you
Mhm.
moved up the ranks, so the company is business first. They're going to give you the lowest that they can give you for that position, right?
Of
What
course.
I would suggest is for you to, if you want to move up the ladder and you want to make money, then you have to move companies.
Mm.
If I already have a record on you, I already know what you can do, what you can't do, things you have done wrong. You made more mistakes. You move up the ranks, and I want to give you an opportunity, air quotation. Um, and I want to give you that 60,000. And you're like, oh, I think I should be making more than that. Well, tough luck. That's what I'm giving you. It's business, right?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, people don't understand that. It's about your leverage. If you don't have the leverage to demand a higher salary, then your job is to try to find the leverage. And where you can find that leverage is, unfortunately, is where people are uncomfortable at, and that's doing a lateral move and leaving your company and going to another company.
Would you also say that maybe who you know has something to do with it as well? Like, does that give you an edge if you know?
Well, I would say yes and no because so a lot of people throw that around. You have, especially these major companies, you have HR, you have protocols in place to stop discrimination. That's pretty much what that is when you say who you know. Who you know can get you in the door, who you know can get you to interview, who you know can influence the hiring, but who you know is not going to get you the money and not in this business.
Right.
I give you an example. I give you an example. Let's say you like, I want to get into banking, Rich. I have some management experience. I want to apply for your job. I see that they have a posting, and let's say I'm really close with my boss, and I call my boss and I say, listen, she'll be good for the job. I know she'll do X, Y, Z. I'll vouch for her. Trust me, you'll be making a good decision by bringing her on board, right?
Mhm.
And he brings you on board based off of me and the relationship I have. He still can't give you more money than you deserve, right?
Good
Because
point.
there's still an HR element, right?
Right.
He's not even going to talk to you about salary. That's going to be all HR because what HR is going to say is we have a minimum, a minimum, a middle, and a max on how much we can pay you, right? And they're
Mhm.
going to say we start everyone at the minimum, and then we start adding based off of your experience. You got a college degree, we add this on it. You have X Y Z years of experience. We'll add this on it. Do you have any related experience? We add this on it. Do you have any licensing? Do you have any? And then they start adding on to it, right?
Mhm.
So if you have a person who never worked in the industry, but maybe had 15 years of management experience in customer service, and you have a college degree in accounting, but you for some reason you worked at Macy's. I don't know. You got a degree in accounting, but you worked for Macy's for 15 years as a manager. If you step into this arena, they're not going to pay you top dollar, even with that degree in accounting. They're not going to pay you top dollar. They're going to say, why would I pay you top dollar if your management, you managed for 15 years, cool, but in a different field.
Right.
Now, that same person I just said that worked for Macy's for 15 years as a manager and has an accounting degree will get paid more than the person who probably moved up the ranks
Mm,
because you got 15 years of management experience and you have this degree. Now, mind you, Macy's is Macy's, but they still sell, they still
right.
manage people, it's still relatable. So you know how to coach, you know how to lead. You've been there for 15 years, you got a lot under your belt. This person who was moving up the ranks don't have any management experience because they're moving up the ranks, right?
Mhm.
So they don't have that much management. Yeah, they know how to do the job of the banker because they've been in the bank, but you have no management experience. And you also may not have that degree. Maybe your degree was in, basket weaving. I have no idea, right? So so then you'll have that conversation. Well, they paying him more than me, and that's the reason. So it's kind of streamlined in that way. I mean, that'll be a good conversation to have with the HR rep if you ever have an HR rep in on your podcast. I think that'll be really good to talk about because a lot of people swear up and down, uh, that people are. And I'm not saying there's no discrimination out here. No, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Right.
Yes, but people swear up and down that we're just throwing numbers to the wall. Like, yeah, I want to pay this person this amount. That's not how it works.
Mm-mm, there's a whole reason behind it.
Yes.
All right, so that concludes our intro and stats section. Next up, we'll be talking inspiration and advice. All right, welcome back. So we're now about to tap into the next segment called inspiration and advice. So Richard, what was your inspiration to pursue this career?
So to be honest, I kind of the career fell in my lap, and then I kind of opened my eyes one day. So, like I told you earlier, when I graduated from college, it was just something to do, just to get a job, and I resisted it for a while, and what happened was one day I kind of realized, I said, growing up in North Philadelphia, there was no banks in the hood. There was no banks around. We didn't know what financial literacy was.
Mhm.
And working in the industry, helping my people, understanding how to, and it just something simple as balancing that check and learning how to save. And it just was like, wow, they need help.
Right.
And even though, I came from a family that set me up pretty good on even in the hood, set me up pretty good on financial literacy and how to save and things of that nature, you know. But I thought this was something that everyone knew.
Mm.
And being in the bank, being in the credit unions, realizing that, hey, my people need help with this. And I was able to bring it down to their level. I wasn't talking over their head. I wasn't using vernacular that they couldn't understand. I was like, you know what, I can bring it down to them and I can use analogies so they can understand it. And it just worked.
Mm.
So my passion started to grow from that. And then it started to grow even more when I realized, how many people I was helping, and in me becoming a manager, that passion even came from being in this industry for so long. I have never had still to today, I have never had a boss that looked like me.
Mm.
I live in a metropolitan city, and I've always been the black boss. I have never had a black boss. So
And we're
it was
talking
inspiring.
Philadelphia, right? Like
Yes,
Philadelphia, that's
Philadelphia.
crazy.
Now, I'm not saying there's no black bosses in Philadelphia. What I'm
Of
saying
course.
is
In your
the
experience.
industry, in my experience of 15 years of being in this business, I've never had a black boss, and I've never had a black boss's boss. If you follow my drift.
Yes.
Now, the guy who's my boss today at TD Bank, who just got the job when I got the job, even though he's already been in the company, he's Spanish. So that's the closest I've had to, at least he's a minority.
Right.
So I've never had a black boss. So I kind of say, well, maybe that's my purpose. Maybe it's my purpose to be that black boss for these young men and women that are coming through this industry, and show them, the right way, and show them the path, and get them, into the bank, and be that sacrificial lamb, and maybe they can jump me one day and be that boss for someone else. I don't think, living in a metropolitan city, I don't think that any um, person should say that they never had a boss that looked like them. Never
Exactly.
had a boss like me. And I think, and when you said earlier about it's who you know, right? Well, part of that comes internal as well. So when I see a young teller, young black kid that just got out of college, 21, 22, 23 years old, I can look at him and say, I can see myself in him. I
Hmm.
can see some of the things he do, and say, I can relate to that. And I can mentor him, and I can take him under my wing. And if he listens, he listens. He doesn't, he doesn't. But it's inspiring, right?
Hmm.
Well, it says the same thing when you're in industries like this as a branch manager. If I had a boss who could look at me and say, I remember being in those shoes. And that mentorship, that development doesn't stop. A lot of people think, oh, once you get to a certain age, it stops. It never stops,
Hmm.
because there can be a CEO, or there can be a regional vice president, something like that. That's also a black man that came from the inner city, and he could be in his 50s, and he could look at me and say, I remember being in those shoes, and I remember you know, not being able to get to the next level. And I see Richard, and he needs just this little piece here, and maybe I can help him. So, that's my inspiration. My inspiration is those two things right there. Is to inspire the people behind me, under me, to make sure I can throw a rope back to them, and also, like I said, to keep helping my people.
Well said. Well said. I was just even thinking about when you talked about how you're able to make it understandable and relatable for other people. Like even my journey investing into the stock market. I remember I wanted to invest so many years prior, but just to like try to get my foot in the door, just try to figure it out was just so over my head. And I feel like now people are putting more information out and making it where it's more digestible, more understandable. You don't feel like you need 100,000, $500,000 just to start. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
times have definitely changed since then.
And I would say that, remember I said earlier, you got to walk before you can run. You got to crawl before you can walk. Got to run before run before you can jump.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell a lot of people who come in my office, and they'll talk about investing, and I say, well, I can put you in, because I can give you information on taxes, and I can give you information on investing your money. I'm not licensed for either, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have a partner that I can put you to. But I always say, one of the things that me and my FA will always clash about is the fact that I'm all about saving, and I'm all about teaching you how to crawl and walk, and maybe start to jog a little bit before you start running. I have people that will come to my office, and they talk about investing in stocks, and Nike stock, and this stock, and blah, 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 because they hear it on TikTok, but they
Right.
don't have a 401k, but they don't have an emergency fund.
Mhm.
If they get locked up for fighting over the weekend, they don't have 500 to $1,000 to bail themselves out.
Right.
These are people who are trying to jump, and I'm like, slow down. You're trying to jump, and jump have into this market of wealth, which it can be. Trust me. Um, but let's start from somewhere. Can you save? You know, do you have $1,000? And this is small money. Some people gonna listen to this and gonna laugh, but trust me, I work in the banking industry for 15 years. There's so many people who do not have $1,000 liquid cash in their account that they can do whatever they want with
Mm-hmm.
if they need it. And that's sad. When you have people who are making 60, $70,000 a year, $80,000 a year, these are average people, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't have $1,000. I can expect if you was making 20,000 or $30,000 a year, maybe that bar may be a little. You can do it as well. I can show you, but it's more understandable when you have someone sitting in front of you that works for SEPTA or works for the government, and they earning a pretty decent wage, and they don't have two pennies to scratch. Their account's always negative. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
So,
All right. So give us three pros to the job.
oh man, so three pros would be, I think it's multiple avenues to grow. Multiple avenues. If you're in this business, if you don't like dealing with customers, which I hear a lot, oh, no, I can't deal with the customers. You can go in the back office, and you can deal with us. You can get into fraud. You can get into um, security. I mean, believe it or not, banking security, they make so much money. You wouldn't believe how much they make sometimes.
Wow.
But getting into fraud and things like that, you can get into just customer service, working at the call center. You can go into mortgages. You can do loans, lending. The avenues of growth is beyond. So many different things you can get into.
Mhm.
I would say easy money. It's really easy money. Believe it or not, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to do these jobs. Um, to be a branch manager, you can go into branch manager. You can make pretty good money. I would say in Philadelphia, which is a metropolitan city, so I would say in any of the major banks, you can bring in 100 to 120 easy doing one of these jobs.
Mhm.
Um, and then the best kind of all is banker's hours. um, now unfortunately, if you decide to work for TD Bank, we're 7 days a week, but they're still better than a lot of other jobs and their hours. And then as a branch manager, I don't work on weekends. I don't work on Sundays and Saturdays. So I don't deal with that. And then I'm usually in at 9 and out by 5, if that.
So yeah, that's
So
cool. Right, 9 to 5.
so I have my weekends, I have my nights, I have my holidays. Uh, and every bank I've worked for is been the same. You have your nights, your weekends, your holidays. Some banks may require you to work a Saturday, every other Saturday, something like that. But usually those Saturday hours are smaller hours. But you can't beat bankers' hours. You just can't beat it. Everyone I run into is like, yeah, if you want to get a job that's going to pay you some good money, you want the best hours available.
So who usually runs the floor on the weekends if it's not a manager that's there?
My staff will run the floor, so there's a hierarchy in staffing.
Okay.
So you may come into a Saturday and there may be an assistant manager or a head teller there, but for
Oh.
the most part, I don't usually have them there either. It's just staff. We're open for about 4 hours. Uh, they can handle everything the way it's set up. They can handle everything in the store. They don't need a manager or supervisor. And then the way we structure it, we have on-call supervisors. So
So,
what I'll do is twice a year, I'm on a rotation for supervisors to be on call. So I'll have my laptop at home or I go into an office and I'm readily available for bump ups or any type of problems.
mhm.
But as a salary branch manager, I'm always available for bump ups. If my staff is there, and I give you a quick silly story was this Saturday, the lights went out in my branch.
I need
And,
those.
it went out right as they was locking the doors. Daylight savings time changed, so the timer is off. So the
Oh.
lights go out and it's pitch black, and they can't see the count the vault, so they can't get out. So
Mm.
they called me, and I had to walk them through, going into the panel and turning on lights. Something simple as that. So
Mhm.
you're always on call.
Okay. All right. Now, would that be one of the cons? Like, give me three cons to the job.
Actually, I wouldn't say always been on call is one of the cons. I mean, it can be for some people, but if you manage your business properly and lead your staff properly, they'll know what to do. And they don't normally have to call you all the time. So my phone don't typically ring. I would say I would say number one would be dealing with adult children, as I say. Um, as a manager, dealing with adult children, that's across the board. I don't care what manager. You could be a
Yeah.
manager at freaking McDonald's, Target, Walmart. Deal with these adult children, and it's just that can be the agony in your day. Dealing with adult children. Oh, Jesus Christ. Uh, but also in my line of business, it's the customers and the employees. It's not just the employees. More likely the customers than the employees. But you'll have a client that'll come in the office, complaining to me about a fee that they got on their account. Uh, you know the rules. You messed up. You got a fee, right?
Right.
Fine. We're adults. If you need the feedback, if you want it back, call me. We talk about it. See if we can give it back to you, right? Most of the times I get feedback like crazy. But you have some that they want to come in hollering and screaming, and I want to speak to a supervisor and cursing. And you don't have to do all that for a $15, $10 fee. It's not that deep. Go there, spend 20, 30 minutes writing a freaking book on the internet, sending us a Google review or a review, and all you have to do is call me, and we could have talked about it, and I could get you $15 back. So
Right.
believe it or not, I waste a lot of I say waste because it is a lot of wasted time of my day talking to customers, calling customers about complaints, Google reviews, or our reviews that they send us into the bank, because they came in and, the ATM machine charged them a fee. I'm like, well, it's going to charge you a fee. Why did you use it? But that I would say is the con if you don't have that strong backbone. Like I said, another con I would say would be sales. A lot of people hate sales. They're afraid of sales. They're scared of sales. In banking, you're going to sell. If you cannot sell, you cannot make money. You have to sell. Um, and I would say regulatory and compliance would be
Mm-hmm.
another con, a big con, because of the fact that you can lose your job off a mistake. So you can, and I'm not saying throw away a career, but some people can throw away their career for a big mistake if they're not paying attention, if they're not paying attention to detail. One of the things you read earlier, it said you have to pay attention to detail. Yes, you have to be detail oriented to be in this business. There's a lot of fraud, like a lot of fraud. Definitely a big pain point for us in banking. Identity theft, debit card fraud, check fraud. I mean, you can just name it. And if you're not doing your due diligence, if you're not knowing your customers and you sign off on something or you, override something that you didn't pay attention to, you can contribute to a significant loss to the bank and to the customers. And unfortunately, that can lose your job.
Mm.
Um, and like I said, and that's just the fraud aspect of regulatory and compliance. I mean, we can go down the litany, a list of all types of compliance issues that you can have that you can lose your job, and not, from HR to, just regular, you know, money laundering, Patriot Act. I mean, the litany, the list goes down and down and down. So you have to be detail oriented in this business because you can lose your job quickly.
That sounds scary. Just
Yeah,
hear.
I mean, it does. To be honest with you, it really does. A lot of people, who can't cut it, as we say, who can't cut the mustard, that is the reason, regulatory and compliance. That is the reason right there. They can deal with the sales, they can deal with the people, but they can't deal with the compliance and the regulatory issues because if you're not detail oriented, you can't just, when you're dealing with someone else's money, you can't just be like, oh, I missed the zero. No, you have to make sure you didn't miss that zero.
Right. Good point.
You have to do your due diligence. Just imagine if someone takes $5,000 out of your account and you're talking to the branch manager of your bank and you're not understanding how someone walked up to a teller and took 5,000 out of your account and they give you a bogus answer and you're like, wait a minute, huh? You did what? Now you're getting sued. It's and banks get sued a lot. Okay, so yeah. That's I would say that's like number one on the list. I should have said that first.
Right. Right. Although that would probably scare people away. Maybe it's good to put at the end. All right. So final Advice for someone interested in what you do. Any advice, lasting words?
I would say always tell the truth. And if you're going to be in this business, you have to tell the truth. It does not serve you any justice to lie on your job. People need to trust you. They need to trust you. When you're dealing with someone with some money, they need to trust you. People are they don't. A lot of people don't trust the banks. As you can see, what's going on now in the news with Silicon Valley and locking the doors and going through the issue. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not trying to get sued, but um, people don't trust banks, and you have to always tell the truth. I would say that is key. Even when it sounds bogus, you're trying to tell a customer something, you got to tell the truth and take your lickings, as I would say. You have to develop relationships, and that's with people. I'm gonna say develop relations with people and numbers.
Mm.
Of course, developing those relationships with people is going to help you build your business, but developing those relationships with those numbers, being able to analyze those numbers, read those charts, being able to forecast, being able to look for trends. Those are the things that's going to help you build your business. I would say you must have here's one I always say. You must have a healthy understanding of the difference between empathy, sympathy, and having a backbone.
Yes.
Let me say that one more time. You must have a healthy understanding of the difference between empathy, sympathy, and having a backbone. And as I said earlier, I'll stick on the fees because everyone hates banks because of the fees. One of the things I love about TD Bank is, through our Ready Commitment, what we do is all the fees, that we collect, we give back to the community. So when I'm doing those financial literacy courses, they're free of charge. We don't charge anyone for those financial literacy courses. So when you're a nonprofit, reach out to me and say, hey, Richard, I have a group of adults here or a group of people that I want you to talk to them about credit. And I come out and I talk to them about credit, me and one of my colleagues, and we give out some giveaways or whatnot. That's free of charge. We don't charge. And we don't do business. We also don't talk about business. We're not there to try to get you to open up accounts. We're there to strictly educate you, right? That's how we're able to do those things through the fees that people are paying. So it goes somewhere. It doesn't just go in people's pockets. But when I say have empathy, sympathy, and a backbone, a lot of times your feelings get tied, your emotions get tied into the decisions you're making. You have a person coming to you and they're saying, my mortgage is due. I'm back 2 months of my mortgage. They're talking about taking my house. My grandmother just wrote me this check so I can catch up on my mortgage. She gave me $20,000 and I just need it cleared, or I just need at least 10,000 of it so I can go ahead and pay my mortgage and you can hold the rest. And they come with this sob story and you see them all the time and you believe them. And as a manager, you're able to go in and override those holds and they give them those $10,000 and you did not do your due diligence and that check bounced because they stole their grandmother's checkbook. And now they end the win with $10,000 and you can't catch them, you can't find them. And they're like, heck with this account, tough luck. And that falls on your shoulders. So you're sympathetic to the situation. You can be empathy. You can feel their pain, but you have to have a backbone. Sometimes you have to say, I understand, but unfortunately, this check has to stay on hold.
Great advice. Great advice. All right. That ends second segment of inspiration and advice. We're going to finish off with the third segment, get to know. All right, welcome back to our final segment, Get to Know. This is one of my favorite segments because we kind of get down and deep into some personal, just some fun conversation with each guest. So, Richard, give me up to three topics you're interested or passionate about.
Mm, three topics. As far as work or just anything?
No, just anything like outside of work. It's not work related. So you as a person, because I always tell people like we're not just our jobs. Like we have lives, we have passions and things we enjoy outside of work. So just curious. And
Well,
it can be up to three, it doesn't have to be three. So anything you feel sharing.
I'm passionate about politics, and how it affects how it affects us as a people, not just my people, but us as a people.
Mhm.
Um, I'm I'm super uber fascinated with relationships, and the state of families in our community.
Mhm.
Um, I would say third, super passionate about educating adults, on financial literacy, I emphasize adults because a lot of times in these organizations that we frequent, they kind of throw the adults out with the bathwater. They say they're too far gone,
Mhm.
and I don't believe that. I believe that the problem is we focus a lot of our energy on the young adults or the kids, and then they go home to these adults,
Mhm.
right? And if you are a counselor or if you are a person that goes into a school or to a program, after school program, you're trying to teach these children things that they should be learning at home, by the way. And then they go home to, their uncles, their aunts, their brothers, their sisters, their mothers, their dads, etc., who saying, F that, that's not what you do, it's not what you learn, this is how you do it. Then it's like a push and a pull effect, right? I feel like it's not being utilized. But if you attack the adults, in a sense, they're not only they're using the products that we're talking about, not only they're living that life, but they understand that they messed up. And what happens is they have pride. They
Yeah.
have this pride and they have this sense that they don't want to say that, hey, I should have learned this in school. I should have learned this at home, but I'm gonna act like I know it, and they don't know it.
Mhm.
And so when I do those financial literacy courses and we're talking about budgeting, and I break it down for them, and then I give them loops and they understand it, they leave out of that classroom with some information that they can take home to those kids. And they can say, listen, I messed up, but you won't mess up because I've now learned.
That's
And when those kids are coming from those classrooms and dad or mom or auntie or uncle has also did those classrooms as well, now they can communicate together and then they can help better their family versus us saying, they're adults, they have lost it and I'm moving on to the kids. I think that doesn't work.
awesome. Awesome.
That's like,
Now, up to three content creators that you're always tapped into.
I don't know, man. I'm a big YouTuber right now, so I am it may switch, every now and then. Right now, I'm really big on. I love the Breakfast Club. I know that's my ratchetness sometimes, but I love the Breakfast Club. Um, I get down with a guy by the name of Anton Daniels. That's my guy from Latif Network. Latif and I watch. They talk about a lot of the things I'm just talking about with politics and family and things of that nature.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, I mean, those are the main two things that I dive into now, and then I also go down a rabbit hole. I am from North Philly, so I go down a rabbit hole of rap battles and things of that nature every now and again. I like the entertainment. I actually watch YouTube more than I watch TV now, so sometimes I go down a rabbit hole of the trends.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works now. I'm the same way. Like I couldn't even tell you what channel I'm locked into. It's mainly YouTube because, like you said, it's a rabbit hole. It takes one
Yeah,
video and then you find another, and the next thing you know, you're getting all this information from all these different content creators.
yeah. I like to listen to different people, especially when they come. So let me backtrack, right? I don't like to. I stopped listening to a lot of like stars and things of that nature because they live differently, their money comes differently, and
Right.
they have advice for people that I think sucks. At
Yeah.
first, I just say, "Oh, that's some good advice that they give me," and sometimes they'll say, some good lines. That sounds really good, but it's like, dude, you're a millionaire. Like, of course, is that easy for you, right? Because your money comes differently. But then I started listening to like these financial gurus because I'm like, I'm in this space. Let me see what they're talking about.
A
And
lot
then
of
I hear such falsehoods. Some out there they're telling some really good things, and people are making some really good money. But a lot of it is falsehood. A lot of it is
smoke.
scamish. And it's just like it's cringy, because out here, I give you one thing I've heard, and I heard a content creator saying, hey, if you want, start your small business, and you go to the bank and you get a line of credit for $100,000, blah blah blah, and he made it seem like it was just that easy for you to start your business and then walk into the bank and get $100,000 line of credit unsecured. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to work. And then because that's what I deal with directly. I get people day in and day out that's applying for this $100,000 business line of credit and get declined, declined, declined. I'm like, why are they putting this out there? That is not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so I stopped listening to those types of people because it can clutter your judgment. It can cloud your judgment. It can make you feel like, you know, because it had me second guessing like, well, what bank you work for? Because that's not what we do here.
Right.
And like I said, it's not cookie cutter. That's another thing. It's not cookie cutter. It may work for certain industries. Like I watched another content creator on YouTube that told small business owners to basically lie to the banks and tell them, don't tell them what you do with your business because then they will put you in you know, put you in a bucket. They put you in a box that says, hey, this person does this, so we don't really want to do business with them.
Mm.
That's another falsehood. You have to tell us what you do. We have to know what the business does. Like, you want to tell me you're a delivery person? And I said, oh, sure, you're a delivery person, but you really delivering drugs or you really delivering guns?
Right.
Like, it doesn't, it's like I said, TikTok, YouTube, they make it seem like it's so easy for these young kids are not investing in their careers and they're just going out trying to be entrepreneurs, which is great, but it's not for everybody. If it was for everybody, then there would be no job. So,
Mhm.
whatever.
All right, give us up to three stores you shop at the most.
Oh man, now you're going shopping. I don't like to shop. No, no. So being in this industry, I guess you want to talk about clothes. So believe it or not, I'm not a big shopper. People swear I'm a big shopper because I take really good care of the things I do have, and
Hmm.
your husband can probably tell you I've been the same size since high school. So, but I love Zara. Zara is one of my favorites.
Hmm.
I'm a big Zara fan. I'll shop off the rack if I have to. Like I love going to Nordstrom Rack. Nordstrom Rack is one of my favorite stores.
So convenient.
Um, I love Saks Fifth Avenue. As you can say, these Target is one of my favorite stores. These are cheap stores. I'm a cheap guy. To tell you about budget. I'm the cheap guy. I don't spend a lot of money on clothes. I don't believe in it. You will never see me spend, $300-400 on a pair of sneakers or something like that. That's not happening.
But the beauty in that is
But
you don't look cheap. So that's the
hey,
there. You can shop
I
at
don't know.
affordable places, but it doesn't have to look like, a affordable piece of or article of clothing.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Do I have some expensive pieces? Sure, but I'm not big on most of those pieces. Something like my wife bought me or something like that. I'm not into um, name brand clothing. Uh, that's just not what I'm into, unfortunately. Well, not gonna say unfortunately. I would just say fortunately
That's
for
a good
me.
thing. That's good for your pocket.
It's a good thing. I save my money and I put my money in other things.
Exactly. All right, so up to three musical artists you listen to currently. So who you got on rotation?
Drake, Drake, and Drake.
Yo, I kid you not, my husband literally said that last night.
Drake, Drake, and Drake.
He knows you too well. That is funny. So do you have a favorite Drake, either album or song? Like what's some of your favorites? Can you think of any? You just like it
Everything,
all.
everything Drake does is a hit. Drake can say two lines on the song of some local rapper in Alabama, and I'm banging it in the car because Drake was in it for 2 seconds. Drake is my guy. He can do no wrong.
And your
But
favorite album?
other than Drake, um, his latest album with 21 Savage, I love.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, I can't put a favorite album on Drake yet because he's still evolving. He's still getting better.
Right.
So for me, I mean, I'm not a music connoisseur like Eric is, so I'm not going to dive down that hole. But for me, you know, as long as he's still making music that I like, it's still gonna be number one on my playlist. But I mean, of course I like Jay-Z. I like, I love Kanye West. Unfortunately, man, I can say unfortunately for that because he can go a little crazy on some of the things he's doing out here in the streets. But I mean, you know, College Dropout is my favorite album. Like if you go in my car right now, believe, I don't. No one listens to CDs, right? I don't listen to CDs, but if you go in my car, if you hit the eject button on the CD player, that's what you're gonna find in that CD. College Dropout. That's probably one of my favorite, if not favorite, CD. So it's in my car. Of course, you listen to Pandora, but like, every now and again, I gotta throw that on. I've been working this grave shift, and
Yeah.
I hate that. Like, I just gotta put that album on. Like, that is my thing.
It's the whole vibe.
It's a whole vibe. I feel like I'm back in college. I love that. I love that album. But
Up to three famous people that inspire you.
famous people. There we go. Those famous folks. Uh believe it or not, Kevin Hart is inspiring. If you ever hear Kevin Hart speak, man, he makes you want to get up and work. If you likewise with uh The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, like if you hear, and no wonder why both of them are friends, really, like real
Right.
life friends, because if you hear any of them talk, like one of the things that I love from both of them, they don't believe in excuses. Like, like everyone wants to be, when it running in the victim Olympics, everyone wants to be a victim. Everyone has an excuse. Just get up and do it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I don't have excuses anymore. Like I try to keep those excuses down. We are going to have some things that we don't do, that we don't act on. Obviously, I'm not great as them. I'm not a millionaire, a billionaire, etc. I can always do better. However, when you hear one of them two speak, they make you want to get up and just go and do some more work because you're not doing enough. You said three. That was two. Man, another famous person. I don't know. I like Charlemagne. I use Charlemagne. I'm gonna tell you why, because I've been watching the Breakfast Club for probably the about 12 years they've been in existence, right?
Hmm.
And Charlemagne has came a long way, and it's good to see to follow someone's content and see them grow while you're growing,
Hmm.
and to see some of the things that change, like, because as a man, you get to see the immaturity that you were. And the reason why I was watching him, because I was immature and liking the things he did. But then as I got older, he got older.
Yeah.
And those things changed. Like I remember an episode from the Breakfast Club where there was the girl from Destiny's Child. What's her name? Uh,
Kelly
Not
Rowland.
Beyonce. Kelly, yes. She was sitting in the seat, and like when she got up, he wanted to like smell the seat or put his face in the seat, something dumb like that.
Doing the
Now,
most.
of course, yeah, doing the most was joking, but like back then, I can see that. It's like, oh yeah, perverted man type stuff, right? But now you see him growing up, like I would never do something stupid like that, right? So it's actually good to watch content creators like that, and you actually grow with them as they grow. You're growing.
All right, the final part to get to know something that people may not know about you.
Uh, so I am a jack of all trades, a real true Renaissance man. I mean, it's not much I cannot do. One of the things that I'm gonna use two. I'm not gonna go down a litany, a list of things that I claim I can do, right? But I'll say two things that a lot of people don't know about me, especially in my career when they see me. Is number one is I used to be an art major in school. Eric can tell you.
Oh, wow.
Um, I can I guess I can draw because I haven't drawn in a long time, but um, I still have a boatload of pictures and things that I've done um, through high school and college when I was in art. And another thing that I really love that you know this is I'm a handyman.
Yes.
I enjoy tools. I stay in a Home Depot on the Lowe's. I can spend all day in one of those stores just walking up and down the aisles. I enjoy doing things around the house for other people, building things, tables, gates, laying floors, all types of stuff. I think if I can rewind the hands of time back to an earlier day, that's what I would have done. That's what gives me the most joy. Actually, one of my goals in life, I would love to work for like a company like Habitat for Humanity or something like that, where I can actually build a house, like from start to finish, and just be spend my spare time. And I'll do it for free. I wouldn't even charge. I don't want to get paid. I just want to do it. It's just something that I enjoy doing.
That'd be awesome. Even you could probably even build
Yeah,
a tiny house. Are you into tiny houses and stuff like that?
yeah. I'm a big HGTV fan.
Hmm.
Um, Rock the Block is on. So whoever's listening, if you're into HGTV, Rock the Block is back on.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite shows. But no, I'm always I've just always been fascinated. I garden. When the weather changes, I rush home and take off my clothes to get out and grab my lawnmower and water my plants and
Hmm.
you know I built a whole deck in my yard. Like I do all types of stuff like that. People are like, oh, I do this, and I've never been formally taught anything. I just enjoy it. I have a whole shed outside with thousands and thousands of dollars worth of tools.
Then I must be like innate to you to like be able to know how to build like that without.
Man,
Yeah, that's awesome.
it's like people are like, I don't know what to get you. You can give me a Home Depot card and you go buy me a tool. And it's like, that's me. You see, you open up tools. I'm into it. So
And it's such a good skill set to have too, like on a personal level,
uh,
because you can literally build whatever you want. Like if somebody isn't able to give you exactly how you want something, you know how you want it in your mind and in your head, you can do it yourself.
yeah, I pretty much do everything myself. I've never did any major. Well, I say major renovations, but I've knocked on a wall or two. I've redid a kitchen, a whole kitchen, like brought it down to the studs and build it back up in my cabinets up, things of that nature. I'm not saying I am uh, the expert, but I do pretty good, if I may
As
say
far as
so.
like your art major, did you have like goals and aspirations to like pursue a career in art? Like what kind of path were you
I
thinking?
wanted I wanted to do engineering design. I wanted to
Oh,
be the
cool.
person that designed the way like the computers and things look today.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, when I went to school, uh, the college that I was going to that actually had that major, couldn't afford. So when the bills came and the scholarship money came through, it just wasn't enough. So I ended up going to another school who did not have that major. So, I ended up in math. So I was just a math major in the hopes to one day transfer to a college that actually had that major. And it just never happened.
Hmm.
Just never panned out. But even in college, like my first 2 years in college, I had to take art one and art two, because I knew that I wanted to get into that program. So I was taking those courses. Yeah, but it just didn't work out that way. I stayed with math until uh, actually closer to the end in my college career, and I decided to switch over and finish with business. So yeah, I'm one of those people who have 3.5 years worth of a credit, worth of a major that I could have got two majors.
Hmm.
But at that point, I just wanted to get out of college. I was like, I'm done.
I feel you. So like something that I didn't know about you is definitely the whole financial counselor portion. So could you leave us with like a couple of like tips on either saving, budgeting?
Sure. Sure. So, um, I'll start with this one. For married couples, especially, or couples who live with each other, right? Um, one of the main reasons people get divorced and they have problems in their marriage and their relationships is over money.
Right.
over finances, and we're still living or trying to live this barbaric, old, what they call it, modern versus traditional, right?
Mhm.
That's the conversation a lot of people have: modern versus traditional. And no one born right now. None of us are traditional. We're not our parents. Not our parents. So not our grandparents or our grandparents or great grandparents, right?
Mhm.
You're not raising a family a family of eight with a wife with a $50,000 salary working at the factory. It's just not happening anymore, right?
Mhm.
You need two incomes to survive most of the time. Now, are there some outliers out there? Yes. Some people live above their means, some people don't, etc. But at the end of the day, most of the people that that's going to be married are going to have a two-income household, right? And what happens is you have two adults. Let's say you're in your 30s, your mid 30s, and you decide to get married. You can live, I would say 20 years, all your 20s, part of your 30s, uh, learning how to manage your own money. And then what happens is you get married and you come together, and he has money and you have money, and you don't know how to put it together and manage it. You don't know how to do that. So some people say, well, we just get a joint account and just stick all our money in there. And I think that's the worst thing you can do. And some people say, well, I'll pay these bills, you pay these bills. And I also think that's another worst thing you can do, because what happens is it causes friction, right? It causes friction within your relationship because, maybe the man, I know this is stereotypical, but let's just go down this rabbit hole. Maybe the man said, oh, I'm the man, so I got to front all the big bills. So I pay the mortgage, I pay the car notes, I pay, the insurance, all the large bills, and then you take care of the smaller bills like the light. I hate to say cable because cable is not it's not a small bill anymore. You
Exactly.
pay like $260 and you got cable and internet. But anyway, and they do things like that. Now, for some people, it does work. Like I said, it's not cookie cutter. Some people it does work, but for the overall majority of people that I come across in that situation, it does not work. They fall short because of things like, you know, the guy is struggling to pay the bills. He barely has, you know, $100 left after he pays all the bills to do what he wants, and his wife is going out and getting her hair done or her nails done or her eyelashes done, looking super pretty every other day. And he's like, yo, she's spending all this money and I'm broke,
Right.
or she's. And I'm not. I'm just using this example. I'm not trying to say
Yes.
that that's what women do and that's what men do. I'm just saying these are the examples. Or another example on the man's side can be that woman wants her hair done. She wants these things done, and she's not getting it done because she's not making that money, and she think we're broke because she's struggling to pay the bills. But then he goes and buys his nephew a PlayStation,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, and that causes a friction in a relationship. So what I teach people to do is to create a budget. For some reason, in our community, at least in the community in Philadelphia that I'm from, when you say budget, that sounds like you're broke or you're cheap, right?
Strange
I
word.
tell them, I tell them major companies, Fortune 500 companies have budgets. Like everyone has a budget. You have to have a budget, and you have to have a budget that balance. So what I would tell them is, I say, listen, you want to create a budget for your family. So the first thing you want to start with is how much money you bring in. So how much you make, how much your wife makes, right? Whether it's if you have multiple jobs, if you have other streams of income, but put it down. This is how much we bring in after taxes. Boom. Then you want to start writing down your expenses. Write down all your expenses. Come up with a solid budget for the household. Um, always add some savings within that, right? To come up with a solid budget for the household and say, okay, now we're going to do percentages. If I make more money than my wife, maybe I put in 80% of the budget and she puts in 20%. If we are making the same amount of money, you know, maybe we put in 50-50%. That's where they get that on the internet. You hear that 50-50. It's never 50-50. It's always 100-100 because you're always putting 100% of your assets. And if you're not doing 100-100, then you're not winning as a married couple. That's number one. But that's another sidebar, right? But as far as the finances, what you do is the budget. So let's talk small numbers. Let's say it costs this average couple in Philadelphia, it costs them $5,000 a month to live. That's all their expenses plus savings. They're saving accurate. Let's say they have a great budget and it's balanced. I'm not gonna go down all the itemizations of a budget, but let's say they have a great budget, right? anyone who look at their budget, this is a great budget. They're saving for a rainy day. They have an emergency fund. They're saving within their bills, etc. There's a great budget. It's going to cost them $5,000. Well, what that does is now, let's say the guy puts 3,000 and the girl puts 2,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
She puts 2,000, he puts 3,000 every time they get paid, every month, however you divide it up. Then what you do is, and you're taking control of all your the only thing that you take control of on your own is your personal credit cards and your gas in the car that you drive. If you have a 2-car house, so now you get to save your own money, and you have your own money to go do things like to get your nails done, to get your hair done, to go out to eat with your friends, to after go out with your colleagues after work and spend $100 at the bar if you want, and not feel like I'm jeopardizing the family budget. You follow me? So as long as the family budget is secure, then this extra money is mine. So with me and my wife, I tell her, I said, listen, of course she makes less money than me, but if you get a bonus, like she got a bonus at work, she did well, and she got a bonus, that's yours. I don't need to know about it. You don't even have to tell me. You just got XYZ after taxes, that's yours. You do whatever you want with it. I don't care. So then that way now, because I know that the house is taken care of, and then you also have to look at that budget, I would say quarterly. Quarterly, you have to review your budget. Make sure that you're still doing the same things. Sometimes you have to increase those numbers. Sometimes you have to decrease those numbers. Sometimes you have to add things to the budget, take things from the budget, etc. But at the end of the day, I think that if you do it, if you structure it in a way where the things that are most important are taken care of through us budgeting and saying, okay, through this budget, this is what you're allocated to put in, this is what I'm allocated to put in, then we don't have money issues. Me and my wife have been together coming up on 7 years. We have never had a disagreement about money.
Awesome.
Never. We have had not one conversation about money in the 7 years we've been married, nor the 5 years we were together before that. So it works. I've counseled many of people to do it this way, and I haven't had one bad story. It's always been success stories. I've had some people who didn't want to do it because they're used to he comes home and gives me the check, and I take care of it from there. Or she comes home and gives me the check, and I take care of it from there. Or I just pay all the bills myself. Don't get me wrong. There's other methods out there that will work. I'm not saying that my method, this method that I'm speaking of, is the only way that will work. But I just think for most middle class families, I think this is a really good budgeting method for you.
And it's tried.
Yeah, and I would say that just remember it's not cookie cutter. So what works for me may not work for the next family. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But ultimately, you have to find what works for you. Ultimately, you have to have a budget, and you cannot be afraid of a budget. You can't be afraid to actually put down some numbers on a paper and understand what a budget is. And that's what I do when I'm teaching budgeting. And if I'm talking about budgeting, the first thing I do usually when I go out to talk to people is I let them know. I say, listen, I'm not going to make you put your salary down. I get it. I get them comfortable, right? I said, listen, I'm not gonna call on you how much you make. I'm not gonna make you to write your salary down on this paper and do the budget in front of me while you're in a classroom with 20 people and people that you may work with or neighbors, etc., whatever we're at, and they're looking over your shoulder. I'm not gonna do that. We're just gonna talk about it, and then what I usually do is I pass out a budget, a complete balanced budget of a person that I made up, right? And we talk about this budget, and then we dissect it. And people open up and they get to talk, well, why she spend $150 a month on clothes? And why she do this? And we just kind of go down that rabbit hole, right? And we go over each item, and then I throw in some scenarios. And so what happens if she loses her second job? Or what happens if, her car breaks down or she has a medical bill? And then we kind of readjust her budget based off of, the scenario that happened, because these are real life things.
Yeah.
Some people think they have a really good budget until they get hit with a $1,500 root canal bill from their dentist.
Right.
Because it's not covered, or, their car break down and they need their car to be mobile to get back and forth to work. And they have to not only pay to get their car fixed, but they have to pay for either the Uber back and forth to work or the bus, or whatever transportation, if they rent a car. So they don't think about those things, right? And these are the things that happen. So when I'm doing the budgeting, it's more so, talking through with people, showing them the different methods and how it can work for them. And they have to then take ownership and then create that budget and start acclimating these behaviors into their daily routines.
Well, that was definitely a lot. That was a gem, gem on
I'm
gem. So
sorry.
I really
You
appreciate
know
that.
what? You know what? I don't know how much time we have, but I went through one more. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
One
Go
more
ahead.
gem. One more gem. One more gem.
Yeah, definitely.
Another favorite one of mine is reckless spending. I call it reckless spending. Some people call it emotional spending, but
Hmm.
I coin it as reckless spending. We have to stop reckless spending, and
Yeah.
that's another reason why you have to track your money. Stop paying for things in cash. Use your debit card so you can help track your money if you're not a math whiz. If you can track it on your own, then you can use cash. But if you're not, use your debit card, your Apple Pay, your Samsung Pay, whatever it is, so you can track where you're spending your money because we do a lot of reckless spending and companies target us for reckless spending. That's why you go into every store, every grocery store, you go into Target, Walmart, they have these convenient aisles where they have this convenient stuff sitting here while you're waiting in an aisle. And you say, oh, I want this too. You throw it in there, right? I'm
Hmm.
going to give you an example where reckless spending is. So reckless spending is, let's say you go to Burger King, right? And you go to Burger King and you're hungry and you want a Whopper. So you get this big Whopper and you say, you know what, I want it super size or large size, whatever, right? And you get a large, big old French fry and a huge drink. And then you sit down and eat your food. You did that because you said, I can afford it. I work every day. I don't care how much it costs. You didn't ask them how much it costs. You said, I want the number 5 mil large with the drink.
Hmm.
That's recklessly spending because in your brain you're saying, I can afford it. It's nothing to me. You know what? Give me 2 apple pies too because I can afford it. I want some apple pies. Well, then you sit down. Number one, you can get a free refillable drink. So why did you get that large drink? You're not even going to drink that whole drink by in that one sitting. The French fries, most of us are going to eat a couple of them and throw them away.
Good point.
You ate that big old burger. Now you full. It's your lunch break. You're like, I don't want to do that. I don't know why I ate all this burger. And then you have these 2 apple pies that you claim you're going to eat later, but you don't because you put them in that bag and you wrap it up and you say, I'm going to eat it later and it sits in your car or something or your desk and then you end up throwing it away. That's
Hmm.
what we call reckless spending. You just wasted money on nothing. Now, most people say, I don't care about that. I make a good living. You know, you're pinching pennies, right? It's not that you're pinching pennies. Just imagine how much you can add up of you wasting that money throughout your year. Just a year.
Hmm.
You can start with a week, then 2 weeks, then go to a month, then go to a quarter, then after a quarter, go to a year. And you see how much money you're wasting by recklessly spending. And you can apply that analogy to anything. You go back into Target. You're in Target, you go to Target for one thing. You know, I need some laundry detergent. And you walk out of Target with a whole basket full of stuff,
I get
right?
me every
Just
time.
every time because they have, oh, I need it. Oh, this look nice in the corner of my house.
Yep.
And you say to yourself, I can afford it, right? Because I wouldn't throw it in this basket if I was counting pennies. I got it. I need this anyway. I might as well grab it. No, you don't need it. Put it back. And then as you pack that card up, then you get in line and you know you're about to pay for your food, get in your car and go home. But then you say, I'm hungry. Let me get these chips. You know
Mm.
what? I need to get something to drink too. Let me grab a soda. You got chips and sodas in the house. You don't, or juice or water, whatever you drink. You don't, that's reckless spending because in your brain you're saying, I have the money. I'm not poor. I can do this bare minimum, right? You know, I can afford this. And that mentality we have to get rid of. And I think for me, my generation, I think it comes from being young and coming from a poor family or coming from a family that wasn't really well off. And every time you go in the store, you couldn't have nothing.
Right.
And your mother told you not to look at anything because you don't have anything because you can't afford it anyway.
You bet
So
not.
now,
Bet not.
yeah, you better not look at it. You better not cry. So now that you're an adult and you have some money, you're like, I can afford to give it to me. I can do it. Give it to me. Throw it in the cart. No, that's reckless spending. You have to stop that.
And that also makes sense why a lot of like people that are making a decent salary don't have a savings. Why a lot of them are living paycheck to paycheck. Like I tie those two together where they're just throwing the money out because they got it. But then by the end of the month, their accounts are looking very, very tight just because
You,
all this money's out, then have spent so much stuff and they don't realize what all they spent it on.
you will be surprised on how many people um, that make really good money are always negative.
Hmm.
Um, they're the ones who have the most fees. They're living paycheck to paycheck for real.
Right.
Just because a person, you'll have a person that drive a BMW They live in the suburbs in a nice house. The house is about $300,000, $500,000 house, and you think their life is amazing, but we call them house poor.
Yeah.
They're living paycheck to paycheck. They're barely scraping the bottom, right? But from the outside, it looks like they're living great. They're not
Right.
because they do not budget. And I'm not saying that's all people in that
Of course
situation. But what I am saying is being in this field, being in this industry and counseling people, these are the people I counsel. Believe it or not, like the poor people that I would love to counsel and help, the people that's from my neighborhood, they don't come in to get this help. They don't usually ask for this help. Usually I'm seeking them to try to help them. They're the one with the pride. The ones that I'm helping are the ones that sitting there making more money than me.
Mm.
I helped one of my famous stories. I helped a young lady, who works for the government, and she was, after taxes, she was bringing in 5,000, a little over 5,000 after taxes
Mm.
on one paycheck,
Mm.
and was literally broke by the end of the week. Literally had about $100 for her name by the end of the week. I'm like, what are you doing? And
Right.
when I went through her accounts with her and just was seeing what she was spending money on, she would go to the hairdresser or the nail salon or whatnot. And when she goes, she take two or three people with her,
Mm.
right? She taking her sisters, she taking her cousins or friends or whatever because she don't want to be alone and she wants to have friends and because she got a really good job and they don't. She's like, I got it. It's nothing to me, right?
Right.
So you go to, the shop and y'all get your feet done, your hair, your nails, and eyelashes, whatever. And for her, that's a good time. She tried to relate it to, a guy maybe going to the bar. I'm like, yeah, but look how much money you're wasting.
Mm.
You're basically supporting other grown people who could buy their own nails, buy their own hair, but you're paying for it.
Right.
And that was one of her problems. But to go through her budget with her, to go through her numbers, and because she had a reality check, she like, I don't understand how I make so much money, but I don't have nothing.
Mm. Mm.
So I think that's you know it's reckless spending, man. This is one of those.
That's a
It's,
major one.
it should be a clinically diagnosed problem because we spend money in the black community like crazy.
But whoever
We
has the
just
cure, they're going to
spend.
be like a billionaire, a gazillionaire. Whoever has that cure. All right.
If I
So, how can people tap into your financial courses? How would one go about seeking that?
Well, if so, right now, if they want to get that done, all they have to do is they can actually go right to the TD website, TD.com, and they can request a course. And they go to the their local TD branch. But I'm actually one of the co-chairs on the committee, so it doesn't matter if it's my particular branch or it's another branch. And you're going to hear from me anyway. So if you're interested, but you have to have a nonprofit organization. They have the rules and regulations there that you can read, but you're just going to the TD website to request financial literacy for your profit, if you're a nonprofit organization, if you have a community event, maybe you work for, I don't know, like the local community office or something like that, or maybe you just want to connect them to us so that way you can come to one of these events and they'll seek us out and we'll call them and we'll set it up. You can also just walk into one of the TD stores and talk to one of the managers and say, hey, I'm interested in having one of these financial literacy courses. Can you put me into contact with that group? And they'll do that for you as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, Richard, thanks so much for your time. I really do appreciate you doing this with me.
Anytime, anytime.
And listeners, thanks so much for tapping in. Every month, I'll have a new episode with a new guest. But until then, you can follow me on all social media platforms. I've got Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all at Give a Bean Water. And you can also check out our website, giveabeanwater.org. And until next time, thank you guys
And you can,
for
and I'm sorry to cut you off, but if
tuning
you
in.
tell your people if they want to follow me or they want to look me up or anything like that, you can follow me on LinkedIn. And you can also, and my name is Richard Graham. I don't have any fancy names. It's LinkedIn. You can go right on LinkedIn, and you can also request those financial literacy courses directly through me on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Rich. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.